like you.
Hello. I am going to do another one of these question survey things, which I downloaded and I have not looked at. It's just here in front of me. It's 70 awkward questions. 70. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let's say I spend a minute-ish on each question. This is going to be more than an hour, isn't it? Oh, Lord. This is exactly what my wife told me not to do. Do not do anything that's going to take forever. Nobody cares. Well, here we go. Open it up there. Right, number 1. Do you have a good relationship with your parents? Well, I've only got one parent left, and I get along very well with my dad. I don't know if he agrees with that, but that's my position. Number 2. I'm not going to read out the numbers, I'm just going to read out the questions. Who did you last say I love you to? That will be my wife. The next one is, you know what? Maybe this will be quick. Do you regret anything? Yeah, I do. Not much. I don't mull over my regrets. But I have done things. There's been situations I was involved with that I could have handled better to avoid unpleasant emotional consequences for somebody else. Although the technical aspects of those situations really couldn't have gone any other way. I could have handled it better. The next one is, are you insecure? No. The next one is, what is your relationship status? I'm married. You know what? I was told these were 70 awkward questions, and so far none of them are awkward except the regret thing, and that's only awkward because I had to speak about it in terms that are so coded. It's basically generic into meaninglessness, which is kind of what I wanted. Well, anyway, what is your relationship? I am married. How do you want to die? Peacefully in my sleep, which is why I unplugged all the smoke alarms in my house. What did you last eat? The very last thing I had to eat was a cheese sandwich, which was cobbled together by stuff I found in my freezer and in the fridge and in our dishwasher, which we use for storing all the dry food like beans and pasta and things like that. We're currently experiencing a snowpocalypse, a snowmageddon. There's about 2 feet of snow outside, and we live in Ireland, which is a temperate zone. This has never happened before. I'm 42 years old and I've never seen this kind of snow. It's insane. It's off the chain. It's off on chain, eh? So, we were told by the government, if there's a code red, or whatever they call it, red alert, like Star Trek, where they say, red alert means you don't leave the house. You stay where you are. No cars on the road. All the roads, nobody's been on the road all day. The road is under 2 feet of snow. So I don't know how anybody would do it if they wanted to. But we're all staying where we are, which means we were told in advance by the government. They had a great information campaign, which meant we all have loads of time. We all had loads of time to go to the shops and buy lots of food and lots of drinks and so on, and we're all fine. I think, unless, again, like everything else, these extreme weather events are going to affect the most vulnerable sections of society more than anybody else. But apart from that, we're kind of prepared enough. And instead of, I guess in places like Sweden, that this is nothing. But Ireland's just not kitted out to handle a snowpocalypse. We're not prepared for snowmageddon. So the preparation was buy lots of food and don't leave the house. That's how we're handling it. And so far, I think, mostly speaking, we're kind of all right. Little kids would be out in the daytime having the crack throwing snowballs. And in the night time, we're all right. Some people are without power, not anywhere around here. Some people are without power, and that's being addressed tomorrow. And some people are without water because the mains burst, I suppose, of the ice. And that's it, really. I guess we'll find out. The red alert warning was extended. It's supposed to end today, but it turns out there's a new woof of snow coming over the hill there into Wexford and Waterford. So those places are going to get cluster trashed, I guess. They could be under, I don't know, what are they? Apparently Wexford is under 7 feet of snow right now. And if they get the same thing again tomorrow, that's 14 feet of snow. That's higher than any person. It's going to be interesting, if nothing else, to see how the emergency services handle that, given that we're emphatically not geared towards Snowmageddon. So we're just going to have to see. Anyway, you would be surprised. I was certainly surprised how much food I have in my house. Just by fiddling around in the fridge and the back of the presses and so on. I have enough food to last me a week. I mean, it's not going to be particularly nice, but it's not going to be awful either. The last thing I had was a cheese sandwich. Played any sports? No. I did a bit of basketball in high school. I liked basketball because I was told that it's a non-contact sport and I don't like being pushed around. So I thought I could get into basketball because I was lanky and long and fast. And I thought it would suit me. Which it did. But then someone, it might have been me, told the PE teacher in high school that the reason I liked it was because it was non-contact. And I heard him tell some of the bigger lads, say, go on over there, bang into Barry, don't mind him, I won't do anything. So I guess that guy really hated me. Do you bite your nails? No, I used to. I used to obsessively bite my nails all the time. And then one day I just stopped. And I don't know why. Just my brain decided that's enough. And now I have to cut them. When was your last physical fight? I've never been in a fight with someone. If by physical fight you mean, if your basic definition is an altercation where two people are throwing punches at each other and so on, I've never been in anything like that. I've had my ass kicked a number of times, but I've never mounted anything you could reasonably describe as a defense, so I don't think it should count as a fight. When I was in, 5th class maybe? 6th class, which would be about 11 years old, a fight was arranged for me by my peers, my contemporaries, who felt I guess, I don't know what they felt, but they arranged this fight between me and this other guy who I had no problem with at all. I had no fight with him or quarrel with him that I was aware of, and nor he with I. No, nor he, that's subject, hang on. Nor he with me. That's better. Nor he with me. But this fight was arranged, and it had an air of inevitability about it, like a Hindu wedding. So I said, okay, let's see what happens. So we went out, and there was a group of, as I said, my contemporaries around, basically shouting and screaming at us to engage each other physically, and I had no interest. And because I must have been always half autistic, the peer pressure thing had no effect on me whatsoever. I didn't register any of that at all. He ran at me, and I just ducked out of the way, and he fell over. And this, of course, is, looking back on it, and I suppose if I saw it on television now, it would be a source of humour. But at the time, I was in the middle of a high-stress situation where I didn't want to get hurt. And I didn't want to hurt anybody either. So it wasn't funny then. But now, of course, it's kind of funny because I stepped out of the way and he fell over. And everybody behind me was shouting, go on, kick him now. He's on the ground, kick him. And I'm thinking, well, that's the one thing they tell you not to do in the proverb bank. Don't hit a guy when he's on the ground, right? Like, that's just something they tell you not to do. And I had this, even at that age, I'd heard that quite a lot. And it seemed to make sense to me. I didn't want to hit anybody, by the way, when he was up off the ground either, or anywhere. I wouldn't have hit a guy if he was coming at me, fists blaring, windmilling. I still wouldn't hit a guy. I wouldn't even know how. I had no interest in trying to hurt anybody, even in my own defense. It's just not interesting. It's really boring to me. You know, I prefer to get punched than to figure out a way of punching somebody before. You know, that's all boring to me. Just fill your boots and leave me alone. So that's when I was 11 years old. And eventually this guy got sick of running at me because I kept on moving out of the way. And I wasn't moving towards him, you know. I was just standing there. And one of the teachers came out and he said, what are you doing? And I said, apparently this is a fight. I don't know if you'd call it. It's not a fight, really. It's a series of dodges. It was more of a matador thing, really. It was more of a bullfight. What do they call the Spaniards? Have a word for that. What do the Spaniards call a bullfight? Let's see if I can think of it. I'm going to look it up. Bullfight. As far as I know, it's a nice word for something that's a hideous thing. Spanish-style bullfighting. Oh, there it is. Corrida. Corrida de toros. Isn't that wonderful? Corrida de toros. for such a horrible, horrible thing. Let's stab a bull and see how long it takes me to continue it until it's dead. There's better ways to spend your time, surely. Corrida de toros. I don't know. Whenever I'm speaking Spanish, by the way, I do have a bit of Spanish, but not because I learned it, but because I was in Southern California for some time and you pick it up by osmosis. But because I picked it up from California, all my Spanish comes out sounding like I'm a Mexican. And I've no, like, not even a proper Mexican, by the way, a Mexican who is a 19th century bandit, right? I can't, like the guy in The Magnificent Seven, like Eli Wallach. He's like, oh, I don't know, you must give me your food. If you do, you try to protect these people, we will comfort them. You know, no Mexican talks like that. But that's how Eli Wallach decided Mexicans talk. And that's unfortunately, I picked it up. So now anytime I speak Spanish, I can't just say como estas. I have to say como estas. And I think this is putting on the correct gloss. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking this is fine, you know. I know it's a bit racist, but that's just... No, none of them ever stopped me, by the way. When I was speaking Spanish to them, you know, ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Where is the Bible... No, book house. Book place. Library. Where's the library? So I said that. In case you're wondering why I sound like that. It is background racism. Yeah, that was my last physical fight. Do you like someone? Yes, I've married her. Have you ever stayed up 48 hours? Yes. In university, I would stay up for days at a time without going to sleep. And I would do a bunch of writing in the nighttime, and I'd do whatever daytime stuff you're supposed to do in the daytime. And I wouldn't even notice that I hadn't slept. It just wouldn't occur to me. And I would also not eat. And people had to tell me. Like, I'd not eat for days, and I'd be fine, you know, until I'd start seeing dragons swooping out of the sky, and then I'd go, oh, okay. Had to stop. So I have stayed up for 48 hours on many occasions, and it does play havoc with your perception. But it's not bad or anything, you just see funny things, and it's difficult to evaluate your cognitive capacity when you are cognitively impaired. And I'm not sure if there's any reliable way to do that. You just have to ask someone else. And even then, you could be imagining their responses or misinterpreting them. There really is no way. It's a quandary. So I thought I was fine, but that means nothing. But yes, I have definitely stayed over 48 hours at a stretch many times. And in my opinion, it did me no harm. Although my opinion in this matter is, as I have already explained, worthless. Next one. Do you hate anyone at the moment? No. I don't hate anybody. I can't remember ever hating anybody. It seems like a complete waste of my time. When I could just not do that instead. I don't know why anybody would spend any mental energy hating anybody. It seems very odd. Do you miss someone? I guess, yeah. I do. People I used to spend a lot of time with. And now I don't spend any time with. And we used to have a bit of fun in the crack. And now that particular avenue of fun and crack has been denied me. So yeah, I guess I do. There was a friend of mine called Elizabeth. And we used to have the crack. And we'd be chatting away online. I never met her, it was just online, you know, but I still consider her a friend. And she died. Like a month ago. So that particular avenue of human connection and fun is gone. She's a good person too. She's one of the good guys. So of course she's dead. Next one. That went serious fast. That's true. Nothing you can do about it. I mean, these are awkward questions. Oh, I get it now. These are awkward questions. They're just leading you into them with easy stuff. So they hit you with the whammy. Yeah, fair enough. I spoke too soon. 15. Have any pets? No. I used to have a pet. I used to have a pet dachshund called Leonard. And there's a whole thing with Leonard I'm not going into now. Because this has to be... Maybe, you know what? I'm going to do another entire podcast about Leonard, my dog. It's worth it, trust me. It's a hoot and a holler. Not, you know, not for me, obviously. It was torture for me, but for all you guys, it'll be funny. Let us laugh at the simpleton with the long dog. So I don't have any pets now, but I used to. I disagree with the idea of pets, to be honest. I think it's immoral to keep animals like that. It's just not right. How exactly are you feeling at the moment? I try not to bother with feelings. I don't feel anything. How am I feeling? People ask me that sometimes. How do you feel about this and how do you feel about that? And I don't really... I mean, I'd have to talk myself into having a feeling or an emotion about things. Like, I understand I'm supposed to be sad about some things and happy about others, but I have to kind of talk myself into it, saying, well, look, this sounds like the kind of thing I should be happy about. And I realise that makes me sound like an alien, but I don't see the point in lying. How am I feeling? I guess I'm alright. I'm happy enough. So I have no negativity. Would you call that a feeling? A lack of negative feeling? I don't know. Ever made out in the bathroom? Ever made out in the bath? Oh, like the American kissing thing, is it? Ever kissed someone in the bathroom? Yeah, I guess. I'm 42 years old. A lot of these seem to be geared towards teenagers, but I'm going to keep going. As I said, I didn't check this before I went on. Are you scared of spiders? Oh, yeah. Scared of spiders? Yes, definitely. Terrified of them? No idea why. I just am. It's certainly not related to any perceived threat, because I don't find them threatening at all. I'm not scared of them in a logical way. I'm just terrified of them in a atavistic, primal, lizard brain, our brain kind of level. The terror just goes straight through me, and I don't know why. It's very peculiar. I'm not sure if anybody has an explanation for it, or a suggested explanation. See, people come to me with these explanations. They say, oh, maybe a spider landed on you when you were a kid. Well, that just puts the thing back a level, because now I want to know why I would have been scared as a spider as a kid. Like, that doesn't... like, things fall on me all the time and I don't develop a fear of them, so that doesn't make any sense. You know? I don't know. Yes, anyway, terrified of spiders. Would you go back in time if you were given the chance? That's interesting. I might. Because my mother died in... Sorry for talking about all the dead people. This is another person I miss that I spent a lot of time with and we had the crack. My mother. She died in 2004, I guess. Around then. So I might go back in time to talk to my mother. I think my mother, if she met my current wife, I think they'd get along very well. I think they would get along very well. So it's a shame. But the nature of reality is such that we can't do anything about that, so I'm not going to spend any time feeling bad about it. I just acknowledge that it's a shame. Where's the last place you snogged? Oh, snogged, what a horrible word. Although I didn't recognise the made out one, so shut up me. Where was the last place you snogged someone? In the kitchen, I guess. About an hour ago. What are your plans for this weekend? I have to stay inside. It's 2 feet of snow outside. My plans? Stay alive. Do you want to have kids? Yes. How many? Well, you know what? It looks like it's not going to happen for us, so... How many is hypothetical? The doctors said they've done everything they can and we're done. So, yes, I'd like to have kids. How many is... It's irrelevant. It's a meaningless question. Do you have piercings? No. How many? Another irrelevant follow-up. What were your best subjects? Okay. When I went to university, I studied... They give you 4 things to do in the arts degree. You pick 4. So I picked geography, classical history, philosophy, and French. And the best marks I got at the end of the year were in philosophy and French. So naturellement, I dropped those 2 and I kept on the geography and the classical history because I found them interesting. Very interesting. And I found the people in the French department were very uptight. They were very... It would be difficult to explain to them if you were having a problem, because everything to them seemed quite obvious and this is what you need to do and so on. And there's one class I went to and it was on at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the only way I could make it was to stay up all night watching Star Wars movies at my friend's house, who was kind enough to lend me his front room to do so. And I did this every week, and it turned up at 9 o'clock. And it was a French verbal oral class. And one time, the lady turned up and she said, "Did you do the work I asked you to do the last time?" And there was about 15 people in the class, and we all looked at each other. None of us remembered receiving an assignment in the previous class. This was news. And we looked up with an expression of blankness. She got angry. She said, "If you're not going to do any work, I'm not going to do anything with you." She walked out of the class, and we were just all left there. And we just, after a few minutes, we decided to go to the Students' Union and play pool for the hour instead, which is what we did. And I think that was probably a better use of everyone's time. But there was an infection in the French department in UCC in Cork, and it was just full of this superior attitude, which you would expect from a colonial power. Maybe France is like England and there's still an idea in the back of their heads that they're running an empire. I don't know. But I was very good at French, and I did very well in the exam. I also dropped philosophy, not because the department was full of assholes. The people in the philosophy department were very nice. But I found that they always told us when we were doing essays that they wanted our ideas. They didn't want the same... Like a lecturer would say he didn't want his ideas spit back at him. He didn't want his ideas regurgitated back to him. He wanted us to think about things and come up with our own ideas as long as we can justify it, etc., etc. So a few of us did that, and we discovered the only people who did well in the exams were the people who had regurgitated the professor's ideas. Which is just, well, we found that out before we went to the finals, right? And it seems like an odd thing to say to someone. Do not do this. And the people who do it get rewarded, and the people who actually take a chance. I mean, I know I'm biased because I was one of those people, but this is my opinion in my podcast, so shut up. And the people who took a chance and did the extra work to come up with their own thing and have it justified and so on were downgraded as a result. So I didn't like that. I said, if this is the way things are going to go, then this is not for me. Conversely, in the geography department, the professor said, "This class should be easy enough," he said. "You can just regurgitate everything I say to you in the final exam and you'll be grand," which is the exact opposite of what the philosophy department said. Nevertheless, I ignored him completely, and I went and completely did my own thing that made no sense with regard to the original thing, and I always got good enough marks. I got good enough marks in geography. Actually, I did very well in geography. I just did better in philosophy and French. So I did well. And that's interesting. But the guy would tell you, look, you can just phone it in if you want. But the people who do extra get rewarded for it and do more work and whatever. I like that. So I stayed with the geography. And also, there's nothing anybody could do to make classical history not interesting. And people find this peculiar because as soon as you start talking about Greece and Rome and Latin and Greek and so on, some people just switch off. And that's fine. It's not for everyone. I mean, I understand why anybody would find that boring. I get it, like. But I just never did. I never did. I'm still buying books about Greek and Roman. I bought Mary Beard's SPQR, Senatus Populusque Romanus, by Mary Beard, last year or whatever. I'm still buying books about it. Brilliant. And Tom Holland's book about what's it called? I forget what it's called. Rubicon or something. It's good stuff. So yeah, those were my best subjects in university. Since then, I've developed what turns out to be a competency in linguistics and philosophy. Different from my original studies in philosophy for reasons I'm not getting into. But those are things I just know because they've been independently verified by professors in these fields. That I've also got a handle on philosophy and linguistics. Sorry, I have a cough. I might have had a cough in the last one too. I don't know. I've had this cough for the last few months. Do you miss anyone from your past? Yeah, I've answered that. What are you craving right now? Nothing. Have you ever broken somebody's heart? Yes. Yep. Or so they told me. Have you ever been cheated on? I don't think so. Hang on, let me just... No, I haven't. Have you ever made a boyfriend, girlfriend cry? Yes. What's irritating you right now? Nothing. Does somebody love you? Yes, my wife. What is your favorite color? Black. Do you have trust issues? Not really. I'll trust anybody until they give me a reason not to. That's my policy. It makes everything easier, so you don't have to be watching and paying attention or anything. Just trust everybody until they give you a specific reason not to, and then never talk to them again. Don't announce you're leaving or anything. Just don't interact with them ever again. It's gone. People don't like that. They call it ghosting. If you just disconnect from in a relationship, I suppose they call it ghosting, but you can do it to anybody. Just don't contact them ever again and block them on all social media, and that's it. Problem solved. They can wind themselves up all they want. It's nothing to do with me. But they started it. I'm never going to do that for no reason, you know. What was your last dream about? Can't remember. Sorry. Who was the last person you cried in front of? My wife. I'm not going into it. Do you give out second chances too easily? No, I do not. I give out second chances universally and without condition. I don't think that's too easily. I don't accept the premise of the question. I think if you're going to give somebody a second chance, just do it and accept the consequences of that, because you're living your life. Is it easier to forgive or forget? Easier to forgive or forget. Forgive means I'm not going to feel bad about what you did to me. Forget means what did you do to me? Depends on how functional your memory is, I would think. I don't know. You know what? I find it very easy to forgive people, but I can't forget anything, so maybe it must be easier to forgive in my case. Like, I wouldn't get bust up over it, but I can't. If something happened, that's just something that happened in my life. I want to remember those things. Is this year the best year of your life? You know what? It kind of is. But I could say that about every year. Every year. Since I was about, I would say, since I left primary school, since they stopped beating me up. So I would have been about 12 or 13. Every year since I was 13 years has been better than the year before. And not many people can say that, but I'm constantly impressed by how amazing things get. Including all the bad stuff, like all added up, things are getting better every year. How old were you when you had your first kiss? 18, I think. So you can have a laugh at that if you want. Have you ever walked outside completely naked? No! Favorite food? I don't have a favorite food. There's a number of foods I regard as acceptable. I don't have a favorite food. I'm not one of these people, like if I go to an expensive restaurant and I spend $100 or $200 on dinner, I'm not going to like it any more than I like a ham sandwich, right? I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but there's nothing I can do about it. I just don't care about food that much. I get exactly the same kick from a Mars bar as I would out of a $200 dinner in a really nice restaurant. That's the answer to the question. Do you believe everything happens for a reason? No. I believe that many things happen for no reason at all, or at least no reason that will ever be detectable, which is functionally the same thing, although ideologically completely separate. What's the last thing you did before you went to bed last night? I read a few chapters of Daniel Everett's book, his new book about the origin of language, and it's very interesting. If I can just... I'm right in front of the computer, which is where I should always be when I'm doing these things, because then I can look it up. Dan Everett, there you are. How are you, mad bastard? Let's see here. Here it is. How language began, the story of humanity's greatest invention. That's it. How language began. And so far, he's taking a surprisingly technical approach to evolution and how our mouths create sounds. He hasn't actually gone into the language bit yet. So it is very interesting. He's talking about morphology and phonology and phonetics. And it is very interesting. That's what I did. Also, I wrote in my diary. I keep a diary. Ugh, boring, right? I do it anyway. When you have a really bad memory, it's good. And nothing exciting. Sometimes I make up stories, and I'm hoping that in later years I'll understand I was making them up for the purposes of humour. But today's story is pretty much it snowed all day. It's too cold to go outside. Next question. Is cheating ever okay? Now, here's a minority report. Here's an unpopular opinion. I don't think cheating is the worst thing somebody could do. I don't think cheating is the worst thing. that my wife could ever do to me. You know? And I don't really understand how people get so bussed up over it. Like, it's not good, but it's not the worst thing. Like that, I think it would be worse if they were doing something specifically to hurt me. And most people who cheat, from what I know, it's because they're bored or because they just take a liking to someone new. It's not because they're trying to hurt the person they're with. And I think it would be worse if you were trying to hurt somebody than if you're just trying to have a bit of fun. So I don't see cheating as the big deal that everybody else seems to see it as. Not that I would. I mean, it's not. See, when I talk like this, it sounds like I'm trying to justify something I'm planning. But I'm not. It is honestly, this is my abstract opinion. Which is what the question asked: is cheating ever okay? I don't know if it's ever okay. No, but it's not this major difficulty. Oh, I can't believe, like, it's the worst thing that could ever happen to you. It's a very strange attitude to me, when it's really nothing to do with you at all. Like, it would certainly merit a conversation. I'll put it like that. We'd have to sit down and we'd have to have a discussion. That's it. There wouldn't even be any. There would be nothing thrown. There would be no shouting. It'd just be, well, look, this is something you did. What happened there? You know, that's it. And if we're still on the same page at the end of that conversation, that's it. And if we're not on the same page, well, then we'll find a way to separate that's productive for the both of us. But apart from that, it's just a pretty low level thing that could happen to a relationship, in my opinion. Next, are you mean? Well, now, that's a question for other people to answer. I can't decide whether or not I'm mean, because mean implies that other people are interpreting your behavior, actions, or words in a negative way. And I can't decide for other people how they interpret my actions or words. So am I mean? I don't know. What do you think from listening to my podcasts and listening to this particular hour of your life you'll never get back again? Do I seem mean to you? Here we go. How many people have your fist fought? 0. Do you believe in true love? Yeah, but I don't believe there's only one of them in the whole world. I believe you get along with a pretty large group of people if they're of a certain mentality. And after that you make a decision. Do you want to make this work? Next, favourite weather. I like big butts and I cannot lie. You others can't deny when you see... No. Favourite weather. My problem is I'm fine with heat, but I can't stand sunshine. And one tends to arrive with the other. So I used to like in the nighttime. I like hot weather, but no sunshine. I like deserts in the nighttime, I guess. Maybe? I don't know. Do you like the snow? Yeah, I do. It actually looks lovely. It's because we don't get it often enough. Well, we don't get it often. Like it's particularly in Clonmel where I live. It's kind of in a dell, and that makes it very difficult for any sort of snow to land in it. Man, we've got 2 feet of it outside, and it looks fantastic. It's what, like T.S. Eliot said, April is the cruelest month, and then he goes through all the things about April, and then he says, winter kept us warm, covering the earth in forgetful snow. And that's kind of what it looks like outside. It looks like the snow is just purging memories. Everything is just balanced. Everything's at the same level now, even though the ground is bumpy. So it's like what happens to your memories sometimes. Your memories are kind of balanced, even though your reality was bumpy. You'll remember things as a certain stream of winter kept us warm, covering the earth in forgetful snow. Do you want to get married? I got married twice, so apparently I'm okay with that. Is it cute when a boy or girl calls you baby? No. What makes you happy? What makes me happy? is being useful. I think finding some way to contribute, finding ways to make things better for everyone, finding solutions, developing creative solutions to problems, finishing writing. That makes me happy. When I finished writing something, I have a sense of accomplishment that I don't get from anything else, really. Even if it's just when I finish writing, like not when I've sold it or anything, or not when if somebody's told me they're going to publish it. That's a separate issue. Just finished writing, when I've finished something, it makes me happy. Would you change your name? My name is Barry Purcell. No, I would not change it. Would it be hard to kiss the last person you kissed? Nope. Wait a minute. Would it be hard to kiss the last person you kissed? Hard for somebody else, or would it be hard to kiss the last person you kissed? Or for me? She's just in the next room. It would be very easy for me. Next. Your best friend of the opposite sex likes you. What do you do? Do I do? Nothing. Why would I do something? My best friend of the opposite sex. I have lots of female friends. If one of them said they liked me, I assume you mean romantically. That's nothing to do with me. No, I wouldn't do anything. No. I wouldn't do anything. Next. Do you have a friend of the opposite sex who you can act your complete self around? Yeah, loads of them. Who was the last person of the opposite sex you talked to? My wife. This is definitely designed for teenagers. Sorry about that. Question 68. Who's the last person you had a deep conversation with? My wife. Do you believe in soulmates? Obviously, yes. Is there any you would die for? Yes. I happen to put comparatively little value on the fact that I'm alive. I'm not sure it means anything at all. So if there's a choice between me and almost anybody else, I'd probably dive in front of the bullet. But specifically, my wife is definitely a more worthwhile person, and probably my dad. Because my wife actively engages with the community to try and make people's lives better, whereas I do it by writing things. So one is a step closer to reality. So she's a more useful human being than I am. So just purely on a functional level, if you wanted to take that attitude. With everybody else, I don't know. It's hard to assess how useful people are in a situation where you don't know anything about them. I might not, but definitely I would for my wife and my dad. And a number of other people that I am familiar with, who I know are useful and interesting people and more useful than I am. You know, I mean, this is going to horrify people, but in these situations I run a mental metric. And I just say, well, look, the only reason I'd want to stay alive is like, I want to be alive. It's this biological impulse I have to be alive. Well, that doesn't mean anything. It's just a thing in my brain that I ignore. I choose to ignore it because it's not useful information. Like I know all biological organisms have a drive to stay alive. That doesn't mean anything. So if it came down to a guy pointing a gun at me or somebody else, I would run that metric. I think it's easy to say it when I have kind of had a gun pointed at me. And I kept my cool. I did not freak out. I did walk away slowly though. I'm not getting into that story. But I will talk about the dog. So that's it. That is 70 questions that were apparently awkward. If you're 13 years old, and I did not realize that when I did it, I just downloaded it. The whole point is to surprise myself because I don't want to be preparing a bunch of material. Maybe I should do that. Anyway, that's it. If you liked it, tell your friends. If you didn't like it, if you found it disgusting, please tell everybody you know. And I am out.